Finally springtime, leaves are getting on the trees, and that means it's time for outdoor projects. So I need lumber, steel panels, concrete, a bunch of things that are hard to haul in a Tesla Model Y. But the good news is this thing is rated to tow up to 3,500 pounds. The bad news is I bought this one out of inventory and it didn't have the tow package, so we got to get it in. The back of the vehicle, here's what it'd be under this removable panel. So we pop that off and the hitch would be accessible to us if it was on it. There are aftermarket options that we could put on ourselves. We have to remove the rear bumper and then bolt the steel into place and then do a wiring connection so our trailer has lights. I found it's pretty difficult to get your hands on a proper Tesla wiring harness. There are aftermarket options, but I want to stick with OEM. And that leaves you basically with one option to go through Tesla. So on the Tesla app, I've purchased the additional tow kit for $1,300, and I have a service appointment for tomorrow to get it added. There are two options you have there also, a mobile service visit or taking it to a service station. I did have to wait a little bit longer, but I chose the mobile service so I don't have to drive 200 miles round trip to my closest service. So we'll see how this goes, and then we're going to tow with this thing, see how it does. All right, today's day, we're getting the hitch installed. It is a nice sunny morning. I'm going to work, so the idea is here they're going to do it out in the parking lot at work. Mobile service, see how this goes. The mobile service went perfect today. I left it in the back of a parking lot at work. The service provider uses a GPS location, so I didn't have to call them and tell them where to go find it. It's kind of a complicated complex back where my work office is. And they showed up, sent me a text. Sent me a text when it was done. Took it about an hour after they arrived. The bumper and everything looks great. There's no scratches on it. I'm gonna pop off this cover now and get our first look at the hitch assembly. Here's our first look at the assembly. So it's a little tight working in. There's the pin we're gonna have to put in for our receiver. Here's the wiring, 5-pin wiring harness. Looks like it was all installed very nicely. And I do like how it's tucked away there. We get a lot of salt in winter here. That way this thing is gonna keep all that salt and water off it, so hopefully it doesn't rust over time because it's just painted mild steel. Ready? Today is tow day. We're actually going to tow something. So in the meantime, from Amazon, I picked up a new ball mount. You can see we've got 3 different balls and a tow hook, which I don't really plan on using the tow hook, but you never know. Why I chose this is a straight. There'll be no drop on it. If you have a pickup truck, typically you want drop. Basically, this will drop down to lower your ball so that your trailer sits level. I took a guess here on using a straight ball mount. I think on the trailers that I'm going to use, that's going to be pretty good. And then it gives you the option to having multiple balls. Usually on a pickup truck or something that's higher, you're not going to want to do this because your trailer is not going to sit level. But I think this is going to be a good option for us on the Model Y. The other thing I picked up at Amazon, I'll put the link in the video description, is the trailer plug adapter. So this is a 7-pin, which they have on the Model Y with the tow kit. And then you've got a 4 and a 5, depending on what your trailer has. Of course, with the ball mount, we need a pin secured into the receiver. Let's get this in place. I'm not impressed with the design of this door. I do really love that there's a door and everything is enclosed to keep it out of the weather and salt off of it, since it's a mild steel component. But getting it on and off is kind of a pain. But I did notice in the top middle, there's a little bit of a recess to put your pry bar in. And maybe there's a better one of these out there, but I struggle with this a little bit. All right, we got it off. Like I said though, could be better. 2-inch ball, so all we have to do is slide this in, get our pin in. So it isn't bad, there's room to get my hand in alongside here to get that pin in, so that's appreciated. Nice protective door. Our adapter just fits. There's just enough clearance. Most of the hookup went really good. I was struggling a bit to get the chains, safety chains hooked up, and we could see it's not too bad of a position, but with my adapter in here, it was making it very difficult. So I took it out and I got the chain hooked up pretty easily. But it's not hard to take that out and put it back in. We're just going to a local Menards, so we're not towing that far. But just out of curiosity, we're at 80% battery, 259 miles of range. Let's go to our trips, reset that, and see what we get for average watt hours per mile and how much range we lose based on the distance we go. Just an example of what the backup cameras look like. The main one's pretty much blocked out by the trailer, so it's somewhat useful, but if you wonder if you latch the hitch or not, you can check there. You don't have to get out. But the side ones are pretty good, and the side mirrors provided decent with this size trailer. But just to give it a flavor of what things look like as you back up. So I just noticed we're in tow haul mode right here. It's a little trailer icon, which I don't believe does anything with the powertrain, but it turns off all the warnings that something's too close to you in the back. So that's part of the tow kit from Tesla. When you plug in the trailer lights, that automatically comes on. You don't need to go into any menus and select anything. It just does it on its own. We can look at the consumption chart within the energy menu and see the very distinct difference after we hooked up the trailer. We've been cruising at 67 miles per hour, and we can see we went prior to the trailer getting about rated watt hour per mile usage, which is right around 300, to jumping up just under 600. So almost a doubling of watt hour per mile consumption. And really that's all driven by aerodynamic drag. The trailer doesn't weigh much and there's nothing in it at this point. All right, we made it back home, 39% state of charge, or 128 miles of range. We went 58 miles and used an average of 505 watt hours per mile. If we go to the consumption chart, This is the last 30 miles of that trip. You can see this is when we were in town around by Menards. Lower speeds, consumption goes down significantly. This is about 60 miles an hour on the way home, average speed, and consumption goes up quite a bit. Got some treated 2x4s and some corrugated steel. If we look at the trailer setup, the straight ball mount is about perfect for this type of trailer. You can see it's sitting quite level with the height of the vehicle. That is a very good match, so I'm happy there. This is a relatively light aluminum trailer with a small load in it. So what's the driving force behind our increased consumption? Clearly, it's not weight. It's all aerodynamics. If you tow this through town, you're probably not going to see much of a difference, maybe 5–10%. The weight of the trailer only matters when you're accelerating. So when you're changing speeds or going up a hill, weight affects you. But when you're on a flat level ground just cruising, it's all aerodynamics. Weight does have a small effect on the rolling resistance of the vehicle, because the more you squat the tires, the contact patch goes up, the more the tire deforms, and you're going to get a little more rolling resistance. But that's pretty minor. The bulk of it's all aerodynamics. And there's a couple things that make trailers particularly poor aerodynamically. One is the relatively square shape of it. The other one is the tire. So most of the tire is uncovered. The tire is rotating. Rotating elements are very bad for aerodynamics. Your relative velocity, your relative speed to the incoming air is increased significantly because the tire itself is moving. The surface velocity of the tire is much greater than your traveling speed. So if you're going 60–70 miles an hour, the tire is going significantly faster. So the drag on that particular component goes up exponentially as the square velocity. As I've said many times before, aerodynamic drag is to the square of velocity or speed as we commonly refer to it. The other thing is, this particular trailer has this gate on the back, which is very handy for loading and unloading things. That even though it has open area in that grate, it's still adding to the frontal area of your aerodynamic drag. So basically you've got a whole nother vehicle here, the height of our Tesla, adding to the drag. So that's why consumption almost doubles, because you've got basically another entire vehicle behind here that you're pulling through the wind. For it, if you're interested why I needed 2x4s and the corrugated steel, here's the reason. It's a raised garden bed. I've got a dedicated video on building one of these just like this. Check in the video description for that link. Now we're off to get some black dirt to fill up the raised garden bed, but you can see it's a pretty good setup. I think the trailer matches the vehicle quite nicely. We're here for our dirt. The loader's gonna fill us up. I'm curious to see how much weight we get in the trailer. We might be testing the towing capability of this. We weighed 5,300 pounds, so we'll see what we weigh after they fill up the trailer. Getting loaded. Yeah, we have our load of dirt. It was 2,300 pounds and handled it pretty good. Bounced the vehicle around a little bit in the back, but you can see the squat isn't bad at all. The suspension is pretty firm, so it didn't move much in the back. There's our load of dirt, 2,300 pounds worth. It's kind of wet, but handled it quite good. Just got back with the second load of dirt. This one was 2,700 pounds. Again, handled it just fine. You know it's back there, but plenty of power. You gotta finish filling up the garden here, but Model Y definitely get the job done. We finished our hauling for today. We got 33% battery, or 109 miles of range, and we've gone we've gone 67 miles with an average of 483 watt-hour per mile. We can see the rest of our time with the vehicle has been 291 watt-hours per mile. So significantly less than half, but a bump up nonetheless. Got the gardens filled with dirt, planted, ready to go for the growing season. The Model Y made it possible. I hope this helps you out with making your decisions on towing with an EV, particularly the Tesla Model Y. Thanks for watching. Adios.